welcome to No Broken Legs. It is week 14 of the NFL season. I am your host, Evan Belfiore. Joining me, driving up I-71, driving home from Columbus is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, how are you out there?
Hey, I'm doing good. I want to give a little shout-out to the World Elite All-Star Cheerleading Gym located in Talmadge and Brecksville, Ohio. We had almost a complete clean sweep, winning first place in every division in a competition in Columbus today. So that was pretty cool, and now I can't wait to talk about some football, where I'd love to also have another clean sweep. So,
Yes, congrats, Emma. Congrats to your whole team.
Huzzah.
Before we get into the game starting tomorrow, we do have a game in the books. Hey, Jimmy, that Thursday night game was just such a mess. Vegas was 6-point favorites. They looked like they were going to run away with it. The Rams couldn't really do anything offensively. And then just like in the last 3 minutes of the game, Baker comes through for the Rams. We'll see what happens with Baker in L.A. I can't believe he won a game when he was on the team for like 2 days. That's just blows my mind. I think I joked with our buddy Brandon. I was like, Baker ran more plays. He was on the field for more offensive plays than hours he was on the team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it really surprises me because they had a really nice drive working before halftime, and Cam Akers had a pretty brutal fumble, I believe, in the red zone. So they would have at least had another field goal there. And then early in the second half, it looked bad, and then they got going. I think it was just, Sean McVay, supposed to be a super smart offensive mind. Well, he let Baker Mayfield take a bunch of 7-step drops, made sure his offensive linemen had defensive linemen engaged, and let Baker read the field and throw some darts. And he did a great job with it. The 2 passes at the end of the game, 2 of the better passes I've seen in Baker Mayfield's career. Kudos to him. Kudos on the Raiders for doing what the Raiders do so well.
The Josh McDaniels era does not seem long for this world. He looks like an offensive coordinator.
To not be able to figure out a way to get out of that game, to not have your guys, to still, with the Raiders organization, you had everything happen with Arnett, and, your team's still not disciplined enough for your defensive line to make the game-saving stop, and then the dumbass has got to smack the ball out of the quarterback's hand and get a penalty. Like, so stupid. So undisciplined, and that's why I still think the Raiders are I don't know. There's some really bad teams in the AFC and NFC West.
They've been a huge disappointment. They made the big move to bring Davante Adams in. Derek Carr looks like just another guy. He's due $30 million next year, and then $40 million plus the 2 years after that. He's a $5 million dead cap hit if he's cut this offseason. I don't think he gets cut because I think there's so many bad quarterbacks. Is it strange that I think Derek Carr is still like the 15th or 16th best quarterback in the league, even though he doesn't seem to be very good?
No, but I think that's where he is, and I think that was always the critique problem with the Cleveland Browns organization and fan base for Baker Mayfield. No, Baker Mayfield was never going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
No.
But with the rest of the roster, a healthy, successful top 15 quarterback should be able to get you to the playoffs every single year. Because the quarterback play at the bottom of the league is so bad with the names we've been discussing for the last couple of weweeks.
Yeah,
so,
we did a deep dive last week on the quarterbacks, so if you want to check out our thoughts on the quarterbacks, definitely check that one out.
Yeah, I mean, because Davante Adams, when Derek Carr's been able to get him the football, he's looked just as good as he did in Green Bay. He's been excellent, but for some reason they don't understand the Aaron Rodgers give Davante Adams 30 targets a game motif. And if they're going to be successful, they're going to have to do that. The AFC bottom wild card picture is starting to get a little murky, but I'm going to say it's probably door shut on the Raiders, probably.
Yeah, I think at this point the Raiders are toast. I don't think the Browns are really in position to make the playoffs, even with the win last week, and they're now like half a game or a game ahead of the Raiders. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think 9-8 is not going to do it this year. I just don't think that's going to be enough wins. Speaking of the Cleveland Browns, they got their win last week to move to 5-7. They are traveling to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. That game last week, Houston is every bit as bad as the 1-31 Browns were. They just looked awful. They didn't look like they knew what they were doing. And the Browns were able to capitalize with some opportunistic scores. DPJ with the big punt return. I've heard, Watson got mixed reviews in his opener because he was, I think, mostly awful. He threw about a third of his passes into the dirt. He looked scared and unprepared for live action. What do you think his footwork can improve now that he's actually gotten a taste of live football for the first time in 2 years? Are you expecting him to show improvement this week against Cincinnati, Jimmy?
It better. it better. I don't know if I'm expecting it or not, but it better.
Yeah, if he continues to throw a lot of passes into the dirt, I don't see how they're going to be able to compete in many of these games coming up, especially against Cincinnati. And we'll quickly go through it here. Cincinnati are 6-point home favorites, even though the Browns have owned them for seemingly ever now. The over-under
5-0.
Yeah, 5-0. Like, it's just crazy. The Browns barely, there were seasons in the last 15 years the Browns didn't even have 5 wins, and they've won 5 straight against the Bengals.
5-0, 5-0 and scoring 38 points a game with Baker Mayfield and Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. So Deshaun Watson better look good, and he better look ready to play. I had a problem with everybody trying to give him a pass. I was told all he's been doing since all this happened is working on his football game, which means if that's true, then you're right. It was gun shy.
Well, they talked about how great he was in practice leading up to that game. So, everybody was talking about how great he looked in practice, even guys like Darryl Ryder that are usually a little more contrarian.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's got to look better. You have to keep this rolling against Cincinnati. I don't think Cincinnati looked all that great in their win versus Kansas City. They were aided by some really timely penalties. But Myles Garrett has been kind of on a tear the last couple weeks. Mm-hmm. It's leading the defense to play better. If you get a pass rush home, then the guys in the back don't have to cover as long. So, it's helping everything. So, but I think the Browns cannot have a slip-up. You dominated. You embarrassed the Bengals in that first matchup.
They really did.
You've got to do it again and get 2 wins in a row here. You got to do it again. I'm taking the Browns and the Browns money line in this one. I'm bullish on this.
Ooh, the money line plus 205 for the Browns, minus 235 for the Bengals.
Yeah, Kevin Stefanski seems to have Zach Taylor's number.
Yep.
I don't know how good of a coach I think Kevin Stefanski is, but I think he's better than Zach Taylor.
Yep.
The Browns seem really comfortable getting after Joe Burrow and scoring on that defense. So I'm going to believe that Deshaun Watson is going to feel a little more comfortable, and the Browns are going to take care of business.
I don't want any part of this game in terms of my money.
Yeah.
I like Cleveland. I'm taking Cleveland in our picks because I think the 6 points is way too much. They seem to really have something on the Bengals, and I think it's as simple as Stefanski understands how to attack what Zach Taylor likes to do.
Yeah.
But I don't feel comfortable about this team doing anything until I know what I'm getting out of Deshaun Watson. And I'm not ready to pounce. I'm not ready to pounce all over him and say he's going to be Russell Wilson and not be good. But if he comes out another game and he looks uncomfortable in the pocket, that is a big warning sign. There are already people calling into Cleveland radio stations asking, why isn't Jacoby Brissett starting? Stefanski had to answer that question. And if Watson looks awful again, that is going to be a cacophony of just...
Yeah.
It's just going to be a deluge, and it's going to be questions. Yep. Everybody on the team is going to have to answer those questions, and it's just going to be this media scrum that seems to eat itself and cause a lot of problems for this Browns team because they lose this game against Cincinnati, they're toast. That's the end of it. They're going to be 5-8, just like the Raiders. They'll have a terrible record. They won't be able to go 500 in the division. They'll have a terrible record in the conference. They won't have any tiebreakers, and they're just done. And at that point, then it's just getting Watson ready for next year And I tell you what, man, nobody throws away seasons like the Cleveland Browns.
No.
Just nobody.
No.
Nobody throws away seasons like the Cleveland Browns. Nobody seems to give more latitude to the franchise doing that than Cleveland Browns fans, who are always just like, well, we're not going to win the Super Bowl. Let's just throw everything away. There's no trying to build towards anything in the future, it seems.
Yeah.
Or it's always building towards the future, but that future never really seems to come. Like, Watson has to play, and they have to know what they have in him so that they know what they need to work on in the offseason.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I agree with every word of that.
Well, let's move on to the rest of the slate then. We've got the newly minted number 1 seed for the moment. Buffalo Bills are home taking on the New York Jets. This is a 10-point spread. The Bills are favored. 43 is the over-under. Minus 500 on the Bills. Plus 400 on the Jets. Jimmy, you were all over this first matchup. You had the Jets beating Buffalo in that game. What say you about this game? Do you think the Jets are going to come through again? That's a nice little tasty plus 400 if they can come through on that.
It is, but I'm not taking the money line this time. I am going to take the Jets to cover. I think this is going to be another high game for Buffalo. Just getting the 1 seed, I think they'll be prepared. They'll be ready to do work and show everybody they deserve this spot. I like the over as well. I think there will be points scored. I think the Jets will cover, but I think they're going to come up maybe like a field goal short of the win. But I do think they'll cover.
I actually like Buffalo to blow them out in this game. I think they get their revenge for the early season.
Wow.
We've seen the roller coaster Bills. They've been sort of meh after they were kind of bad. So I think this is the week they look good, and they probably look good maybe next week and the week after. I know they have a game against Miami coming up. That's one they're really going to need to be up for. So I think they get their revenge. I don't trust anything on that Jets offense right now. Buffalo did lose Von Miller for the year, but they got a lot of talent on that defense, and they should have enough to keep the Jets from putting up too many points.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, I'm going to say about it this time, the same thing I said last time. This is a game I would like to see Josh Allen stay in the pocket and hand the ball off, because the Jets were really close to taking cheap shots on him last time, and I don't think that'll change this time. So I would like to see a less scrambly Josh Allen in this one for the betterment of the NFL.
This game I'm also going to tease with Philadelphia and what was the other one? I'm going to tease this game with Philadelphia and Kansas City. I'm going to do a 7-point tease on those, knock those down. I also like the money line on those with Dallas in there, even though it doesn't really help the odds. I don't like putting Dallas in the 7-point tease because that's still 9.5 points, which is a lot, even though Houston's pretty terrible. We'll talk about that game here in a second. But I do like Buffalo in the 3-team tease. And we just mentioned them, so the Houston Texans are 1-10-1. They're awful. They're traveling to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. This spread is now 17.5. It has moved a full point to Dallas in the last couple days. 45.5 is the over-under. Plus 1,050 for the Texans on the money line. Minus 2,000 for Dallas. Nobody's giving Houston a shot here. I don't think Houston can win this game. I think Dallas is going to blow them out. Do you think there's any chance Houston keeps this game close with Davis Mills back in this? With Davis Mills back as their QB.
Yeah, I do. I think the team plays hard. Now, they do have some receiver injuries, which is going to limit it, but the team plays pretty hard for Davis Mills. They've never given up on him like they gave up on Kyle Allen as a team. I think Dallas is going to have a hard time getting up for this game. I'm going to go ahead and take Houston to cover, and I'm also going to take $100 of my Jets money line winning, and I'm going to throw it on this money line. I'm going to throw it on this money line just in case something fucking crazy happens, because it's not often in the NFL where you can get plus 1,000 odds on a money line.
Yeah,
so
you may as well if you got the winnings.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do both. I think this game's going to be really close in the first half. I think Dallas might get up by 2 touchdowns late, but I think it's going to be close in the first half because I think Dallas is going to have trouble really being up for this game after the beatdown they gave last week. So, I'm actually going to take Houston here to cover, and I'm going to throw a dart at that money line just because the odds are so ridiculous.
Yeah, I just don't see how Houston's going to score. I see this game being like 24-6. I just don't. That Dallas defense is playing well. They got to keep winning. Plus, they're in good position because if Minnesota drops a game, they can, maybe they get lucky. I don't know. Maybe they get lucky and Philadelphia falls back and they can try and sneak the 1 seed.
But you just said 24-6, right?
Yeah, that's an 18-point win.
Yeah, so I just need the Texans to sneak one more field goal in the cover. Like, if
Fair
you think
enough.
about that,
hey, that's why I'm not putting them in the 7-point tees, man.
Like in the NFL, you think like 24-6 is an absolute blowout, but it almost covers the spread.
I know, it's fucking crazy. That's a huge line. That's crazy.
It is.
A smaller line, but I don't know if it's more rational, is the Detroit Lions are favored by 2 against the Minnesota Vikings. The over-under is 51.5, plus 106 on the Vikings, minus 125 for the Lions. Jimmy, this is another one of those lines where I don't know what the fuck they're doing because I don't think Detroit should be favored, but they do seem to play better at home.
They do, but I think it's fool's gold with Detroit. Now, mind you, they did punch our Jaguars right in the mouth last week, but this ain't the Jaguars. Like, give me everything Vikings here plus the over. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the Vikings in the over. I just don't understand how a 10-2 team is road dogs to a 5-7 team that's the Detroit Lions.
With no injuries. Like, I
know Kirk Cousins is the quarterback, but this is 1 o'clock. This is 1 o'clock Sunday, man, in a dome.
It's 1 o'clock with some other good games on the slate. Nobody's going to watch this Vikings team beat the hell out of these Lions. I get it. Everybody loves Dan Campbell, but when you're playing a team that actually has talent, you're going to get exposed because you don't have any freaking talent. Like, I don't want to hear it. Like, people talking about Jared Goff's numbers, 90% of it's all been in mop-up comebacks.
Yeah.
Like, that have fallen short. Now, I do believe Detroit is like 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 games. So I will give them credit for that. But I don't understand this line. I'm railing against Vegas on this one. Give me the Vikings just all the freaking way.
Here. Speaking of things that don't make sense, the New York Giants are 7-4-1, coming off a tie with Washington that was just defied the laws of football. They're now hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are 7-point favorites. Over-under sits at 45, minus 335 for the Eagles, plus 260 for the G-men. I don't really have a feel for the Eagles. I feel like they're going to win this game because I think the Giants are falling off the cliff. I guess I'll take the Eagles. I like them with the 7-point tees because then you get that down to just a pick, or you bake that. I like the Eagles in a 7-point tees because you get to pick them, but I think they probably end up winning this game by 10. What say you?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Brian Dable, now the season has gone on. This was a guy who was coaching very fearlessly early in the season, and now he's punting in overtime, just trying to not lose instead of trying to win. That always affects the locker room. You're playing a team that, if they slide, they could still be in trouble to lose the division, everything else. I think the Eagles win this game by a couple touchdowns. I really think the Giants are going to come out flat. They're not going to, as a team, I imagine they're frustrated by the way Dable coached that game in overtime. All the talk about how much he trusted the team, he showed how much he actually trusted the team in that overtime period. And I would say it means he's looking for a quarterback next year, myself personally. But
I was pretty sure he was going to be looking for a new quarterback next year before the season started.
That's fair. You have been on that. You're right.
Daniel Jones, he's a good running back, but we've seen it we see it across the league. The teams that have found a way to run early and get some wins, like Atlanta, there's no staying power to that.
Yep.
Our next matchup features the Pittsburgh Steelers hosting the Baltimore Ravens, who will be without Lamar Jackson. They're still playing coy, but he's not going to play. The over-under on this is 36.5, plus 110 for the Ravens, minus 125 for the Steelers. Jimmy, I saw this line. I saw that Lamar was unlikely to play, and all I heard was the Undertaker gongs for like the Pittsburgh Steelers rising up from the ashes like they seem to do every fucking year this time. They're 5-7 too. Kenny Pickett's showing some signs. He still looks like he doesn't quite understand what he's supposed to do all the time, but I think he'll make a couple of decent plays, and that should be enough for them to win by a field goal here. So I like Pittsburgh.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Baltimore's just getting really banged up again. I think Huntley it really affects the offense. So I'm with you on this. I hate it, but I got to take Pittsburgh here. I hate it. I love the under here. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored.
Yeah, I agree.
But I got to go with Pittsburgh in this one.
Big AFC North games here. You know, if the Browns and the Steelers win these games, that division gets very tight in a hurry. And is still very much up for grabs, even with Pittsburgh and Cleveland having 7 losses.
Yeah, or, if Baltimore can figure out a way to produce a win with Huntley in there without Lamar against Pittsburgh, that's big for them.
Yeah, it pretty much puts them in the playoffs. Same with Cincinnati. If they get a win, that gets them to 9 with, what would that be, 4 or 5 games left in the season. They should easily get to 10 or 11, and that should get them into the playoffs. So sneaky big divisional games this week in the AFC North.
Yep.
In the AFC South now, we have the Tennessee Titans hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Titans are 3.5-point home favorites. 41 is the over-under. Minus 190 for the Titans, plus 165 for Jacksonville. Jimmy, you were all over it last week. A.J. Brown torched Tennessee so bad that they fired their GM. Jacksonville keeps hurting my feelings. I thought they'd go on a little run. And for some reason, I'm going to fucking pick them again this week because apparently I'm an idiot.
Yeah, this one is, like you were with the Browns game, this one is a stay away for me because I don't know what a first-place team in their division that just fired their GM is going to look like. I have no idea. I have no clue. In Jacksonville, I don't know. I mean, I think maybe if Lawrence doesn't go out for that period of time, maybe that game doesn't evolve the way it does. But I'm with you for the sake of our picks. I'm going to take Jacksonville. But man, the AFC South is bad.
Yeah, I'm with you. You don't want to have significant money riding on this game.
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with this one, but I am going to take the Jags here.
Next up, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. They're traveling to Denver to take on the Broncos. The Chiefs are 9-point road favorites. 44 is the over-under. Minus 435 for the Chiefs' money line, plus 345 for Denver. I said earlier I'm teasing this with Buffalo and Philly. Denver looks like they're on a train to nowhere, man. So this is just Nathaniel Hackett's got to be on his way out. I guess they're just playing out the string with him at this point, don't you think?
Yeah, like I said, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I think you might as well just let him ride out the season, try to figure out what the hell you're going to do for next year. The Chiefs got to be wounded a little bit for that loss last week, but I think this will fix them. So give me the Chiefs here, no problem for the Chiefs to cover that 9.5.
I think we've talked about this before, but they're just going to let Hackett ride it out, and then they're just going to throw him under the bus. He's going to take all the blame, and then I guess people will talk themselves into Russell Wilson being better next year with a new coach.
Right.
I just don't know who that new coach is going to be. I guess that's a place Sean Payton might look at, but he's been rumored to other places, and I would think those places would be more attractive, especially with what we've seen from Wilson so far.
Yeah, and, with all the friction that seems to be going on amongst the players with Russ, I don't know if a coach like McVay is going to want, or a coach like Payton would want to step into that situation.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Well, the situation that Russell Wilson stepped out of has improved remarkably since he left. The 7-5 Seattle Seahawks are hosting the Carolina Panthers. They are 4-point home favorites. 44.5 is the over-under. Minus 200 for the Seahawks, plus 165 for the Panthers. This game has several things that make me just stay away. Because normally when you're in doubt, you take the points. But Sam Darnold's on the road in a hostile environment, so I don't feel like that's good advice. But
no, it's definitely not good advice.
Seattle really, really needs this game if they want any hope of staying up if they want any hope of keeping pace in the NFC West. I think they win at home. I think that's a tough cross-country trip. How do you see this one playing out, Jimmy?
Yeah, I agree. Seattle's got a lot of question marks going on, but I think they'll be able to do enough to beat the Panthers here. I think they can get this one by a touchdown, so the 4 doesn't scare me too much. But I agree. This is a huge game. I think this is a huge game for Seattle. This is a huge end of the season for Geno Smith. Like, I don't know what Seattle's going to do next year. I don't know if they're really going to run Geno Smith back. I don't know, but this is huge for him to show he deserves to be a starter in the league. He's been, I don't want to say floundering, but he isn't playing as well as he was. Not getting the ball as much to DK Metcalf, which is probably a problem. You should probably do more of that.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, but I do think I'm with you. I think it's going to be. I just think it's going to be too much for Carolina. I really do. I think the usual Sam Darnold will show back up. They'll be seeing ghosts again, and I think Seattle will stay right in the thick of the hunt for the NFC playoffs.
Up next, we have the team Seattle is chasing the San Francisco 49ers. They are home and hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are 3.5-point favorites. 37 is the over-under, minus 184 for the Niners, plus 155 for Tampa Bay. Well, I guess we're going to learn what we've always wanted to learn about this San Francisco offense with Bruce Purdy. We've always said that it's a system and that Garoppolo simply runs a system, that he's not very good. Purdy looked pretty good last week. He hung in there and made some tough throws. What did you make of his start last week?
Yeah, I mean, you can't, I don't think you can diminish what he did. I'm not sure if that little bit of game tape having on him can help Tampa Bay enough with their deficiencies on offense right now. So I love San Francisco here. I mean, I think much like how I think Baltimore would have to win. I think it'll have to be a production of the offense to get the win. It's going to be a lot of screen passes. It's going to be a lot of run plays. But you've got 3 guys that are great at that. So, and San Francisco's defense is playing really, really good right now.
Yeah, they're playing amazing football.
Yeah, I think they'll really be able to beat up on Tom Brady, and I think San Francisco is going to keep winning. In spite of all of the quarterback issues they've had this year.
I agree. I actually think this might wind up being a blowout, and come Sunday morning, I'll probably be seeing what odds I can get on San Francisco minus 10, minus 14.
Wow.
Just to see. It's been a good year so far. Just been killing over-unders, so, maybe get some decent odds on that. Like plus 200 on something for them. Maybe get plus 200 on them winning by 2 touchdowns. Like I think that's worth a little cheese.
Yeah, I mean, do you think Tampa Bay gets? Do you think they get any kind of shot in the arm from the way they won that game Monday night?
Did they get a shot in the arm from the way they won the game against the Rams?
Fair enough. Okay then.
They don't look very good, and
I agree.
This is a team that if anybody other than Tom Brady was their quarterback, we would be sitting here talking about how much we can't wait to bet against them in the playoffs. They have all the hallmarks of a team that loses in the first or second round of the playoffs, but they got Tom Brady back there, and when they need to score points, he seems to be able to do it more often than not.
Yeah.
Even if he's been struggling as of late.
Yep.
That's the power of Tom Brady, man. He's still scary.
I mean, I think even if Tampa Bay loses this game, they'll still be in first place in the division.
Yeah, I think they're fine in the NFC South. I think they're going to wind up winning the NFC South, even if they have to do it at 8 and 9.
Yeah, that's fair.
Up next, we have the Miami Dolphins traveling cross-country to play the Los Angeles Chargers. Miami are 3.5-point favorites. 53.5 is the over-under on this one. Minus 170 for the Dolphins. Plus 145 for the Plus 145 for the Chargers. The Chargers going to charge her, aren't they, Jimmy?
dude, it's such a long trip for Miami.
But Staley's doing his best to get fired right now, man.
He is. He is. This is the one. This is one I mean, this game is so important in the AFC. Like, it's so important in the AFC. It's for so many different reasons.
Yeah, and the Chargers aren't even in the playoffs. They're currently the 9 seed, so they're a full game behind the Jets. But
yeah,
I'm with you. I think this is huge. If the Chargers drop this game,
yeah,
whew.
If they drop it the way they've been dropping games,
I don't really think it matters. I think if they lose this game, I think it's odd. I think the Browns and Steelers might actually be alive at 6 and 7. But I think if the Chargers drop to 6 and 7, they're toast.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong, but I'm taking them here. Give me all things Chargers and an over here, bud.
Oh man, I'm taking the Dolphins in the under. This will be a good one for us.
Oh wow, I love it. That's awesome.
I just don't trust this Chargers team at all. I mean, Herbert's never been to the playoffs. He's never shown he can lead a team to the playoffs. I think there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with this team because I think just about everybody knows that Staley's going to be fired and Sean Payton's probably going to come in. I think I think this is the lame duck session of the Staley because he's a defensive guy and they can't fucking stop anybody.
Nope, and they're healthier right now than they have been at a lot of points in the last few years, and they just defense is not their strong suit.
They spent a lot of money on that side of the ball in the offseason, too. I thought it was going to lead to changes. I thought they were going to be able to get the guys in there to run the defense that he wants. And, I mean, they have the guys to run the defense he wants. He's just not fucking taking care of business.
Yep. And the offense just can't seem to quite make it happen when it needs to either.
Yeah, I think Herbert looks like a guy who needs a coach. He needs a real offensive mind to just – he's got all the tools. He's just still a little raw. He needs a little seasoning. Just needs to clean some things up. And I think Sean Payton's probably the right guy for him if they bring him in.
Yeah, I mean, if Keenan Allen gets healthy, all those Austin Eckler might set records next year with Sean Payton.
Picture him in that Kamara role.
Yeah, I mean, I think
running a lot of short passes. Yeah.
Staley just, I like the aggressiveness of Staley, but he's just making too many dumb mistakes, man. Just can't have it. The team is too talented to be the 9th seed. They're just too talented.
And at some point, we keep talking about their games being weird, and at some point, you're losing all of these 50-50 games, and that's on you as a coach. We might not be able to put our finger on it and say, oh, it's this one thing that you do, but if you're consistently losing those 50-50 games, then that's on you, buddy. I mean, that's just how it is.
Especially when you were brought in to replace a coach that always made the wrong decision in those situations and lost the 50-50 game.
Yeah.
That's specifically why you were here, to clean up the mistakes Len made, and you're making the same exact mistake with a better roster.
Yeah.
So
I agree across the board with what you just said.
But that's just a huge game. It's just, in the AFC, it's an absolutely huge game.
And the next game's a big one. New England is traveling to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. New England is 6-6, just like the Chargers are. They're, they're a game out of the playoffs right now too. Arizona's having a season from hell. They're 4-8. They've been pretty bad. In this matchup, I changed things. In this matchup, the Patriots are 1.5-point road favorites. 43.5 is the over/under. -125 on the Patriots money line. +105 for Arizona. We've talked about it all year. Arizona's just a hot mess. I don't know what is going to happen there. I'm going to take New England because I'm going to take the team with the better coach and better discipline, even though I don't like their quarterback at all.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think New England will be able to manufacture enough offense, and I believe New England's defense will be like, okay, this is what we have to do to Kyler Murray. We take DeAndre Hopkins away. We give Kyler fake rushing lanes, and when he goes through them, cut down from the backside so he can't really scramble around, and we win the game. Like, I like the under here. I don't think there'll be a lot of points.
Agreed.
But I think the Patriots win this game pretty easy. Like, I don't think there's going to be a lot of points, but I don't think it's going to be a very competitive matchup. Like, I mean, when you've got
16-3, here we come, baby.
Yeah, I mean, when you've got arguably the best player to play for the team in the last 10 years coming out calling the quarterback selfish, and then the quarterback feels the need to respond, like, that's a problem. Like, that's
well, I mean,
problem.
At this point, it's just we've seen what Kingsbury has. He's not that good. This team doesn't. I don't know, man. I don't know what their GM did to make them better in the offseason, and I don't see Kyler Murray doing the work, which makes it pretty obvious why they tried to put that study clause in there. We've been talking. I don't want to beat up on Arizona. We've been on them being a mess all year. I don't know what they're going to do because everybody just got extensions, so they're going to have to figure it out. And I'm just glad I don't root for that team.
For sure on that.
Well, that's it. That's our Week 14 slate. Some really big matchups. The playoff picture coming into focus. Definitely getting ready for the playoff push. I guess we can just leave it at that, man. You're driving home, and we'll let you enjoy the rest of your drive home, Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you, bro. I think next week might be a good time to maybe take a look at some of our over-under bets, see how we're doing there.
Yeah, I've been keeping track. There are about a third of the league is already determined their over-under bets. So I think that's a good spot because we should definitely be at more than a third after this week.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Jimmy. Be safe out there driving home.
Oh, you know I will be, man. No place I'd rather be, brother.
And I want to thank all of you for listening. Give us a like or a subscribe so you can pick up on our latest podcast as we release them. As always, for Jimmy Champ, I am Evan Belfiore, and we are No Broken Legs.